right. I never did a list like this before, but this year I felt like, fuck it, I'll do it this year. Maybe doing too many here with the top 50, but I usually do a top 50 albums, top 50 songs, top 50 movies. Oh my god. When we're getting down to number 50, I would say comparatively to albums, there's better albums. There's better 50 albums than there is 50 movies by a smidgen. Like there's like maybe like a 20% difference there. But whatever. Okay. We're going to get into this, okay? Top 50. All right. Number 50, Not Just a Goof. Okay, so this is a documentary that came out this year about the making of a Goofy movie. Yeah, pretty standard, solid documentary, but I think it can hit emotionally well, just based off of, you know, the uniqueness of a Goofy movie and how that kind of sold really well later in life. 49, Deaf President Now. Yeah, very cool documentary. You know, getting to see sort of how deaf people were being very poorly treated. I think this was set in the 80s, where they weren't going to have like a president of this school for deaf people be deaf, and which, you know, representation matters. You know what I mean? That's like if there was like Pride Month and the head of Pride Month was like the straightest fucking man alive. Someone be off. You know what I mean? And it was really cool to see these people stand up. I will say this one is not as high as it could have been. I think just giving a Talking Heads interview is not just like my favorite way of doing things, so that's probably why you have that there. Next up, we have Bring Her Back. Yeah, I like Bring Me Back, or Bring Her Back. I don't like it as much as Talk to Me. I still think I prefer Talk to Me, but this is a pretty well-rounded film. I think these directors have an eye for visuals still. There's some pretty dark elements of things that happen in this. Yeah, I think that they understand the horror genre and how to make it really work. I think the only reason why this one would be lower is because there was a lot of lore within that film that I just don't think they expanded on when they could have expanded upon it for sure. Next up here we have How to Train Your Dragon. They did that live action remake, which yeah, I like this live action remake. I will say though, it didn't need to be made. It does some things that the live action doesn't do, and then there's things that the live action does that the animation one doesn't, right? But this movie made a lot of money in the box office, and I'm still going to sit there and think that this is deeply unnecessary to make this, but I guess it turned out all right. Yeah, I think the action looks really good, but when it comes to the animation, again, maybe I wouldn't feel this way if the animation didn't exist, but the animation is very colorful, and it works with the different types of dragons that they kind of have showing up. I would also say that the side characters aren't as good in this remake. They're not as engaging, not as cool. Yeah, next up here, Latin Blood, the Ballad of Ney Matogrosso. So this is an artist that I did not know about beforehand, but he's a Brazilian artist from late 60s, early 70s, and we got to have a pretty cool insight into his life. And again, he was a gay person around in a time where, you know, to even be like outwardly gay, or and the way that he was sort of very flamboyant, you know, it had to be a part of the counterculture. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that is much more accepted today. So yeah, and I mean, you get to see his life as a kid growing up, abusive parent, and then moving into how his adult life is like. Yeah, and again, this is an artist who's not very successful here in Canada, at least, right? Like, but in Brazil, you know, really big. What did I say about this film? I guess I think that the last half of the movie, I wish it touched on his career strongly. I think there was more personal elements that could have been maybe added in. Oh, and I really did like what they did with the ending, with, because Nate Matagrosso is still alive. Yeah, relatively solid film. And you know what, though? I will say making these biopics are hard to do, right? You're filling someone's life in 2.5 hours. So I think that they still did a relatively good job. Next up here, Durandar at 45. I just watched this one like a month ago, I guess. Like, the movie was what, like 3 hours, 16, 17 minutes? Holy crap. But it's quite engaging of a film. You have this guy who's like undercover, going to Pakistan and working as a part of this like gang, right? And trying to like stop terrorist attacks is basically the main point of the film, and it's a lot for 3 hours. It is. There is enough depth. There could have been more, but there's enough depth for the fact that it's really trying to be a cliched action film. But its action is a lot of fun, okay? It goes all the way out there. Next up, oh my god, K-Pop Demon Hunters. Are you kidding me? K-Pop Demon Hunters. I didn't expect this to actually be as good of a film as it was, but it's really good. It's a lot of fun. And I also think that regardless of its cliched elements, I actually think this film tries to have like a very strong emotional message, like more than what can be expected for this genre. The animation is peak. The music, it's not particularly my favorite type of the music, but before the music kind of hit big, because I watched the movie before that happened, even I was sort of aware. I was like, these are pretty well written songs. Like, this is way more than what is required for these types of films. So, and as you can tell, I mean, they've done quite well for themselves with that music. Yeah, I think the demon element could have been stronger still. Like, with, what's their name? Saja Boys. They're well written, okay, but the idea of what a demon is and them being demon hunters is not as, as like, integral, I guess, as you would think it to be. Yeah, I think they did a really good job with K-Pop Demon Hunters. Next up, I guess this is relatively low on the list for, you would think. I was expecting this to be higher, but Hamnet, Chloe Zhao's new film, which is, I guess, based off a book where it's like an alternative, like what they think happened or what was going on with William Shakespeare and why he wrote Hamlet, in relation to his son's death and so forth. And yeah, I don't know, man. There's lots of things to love about this. The performances work, the visuals work, but the screenplay itself, I just don't think it works to the emotional effect that it's trying to get from you. I've heard some people review this and go like, oh, they're really trying to like make you feel sad, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I don't know. It didn't reach me as well as I wanted it to, but it's a very like well-made film. And I do think the film starts really good with their romantic building and so forth, but I think it all leaves with that finale of the film just not working as strongly as it could have. But it's still really well made, which is why I have it still as high up as it is. Next up, man, I'm surprised with this because I'm usually not a fan of these types of films, but Superman. I genuinely like Superman a lot. I actually think maybe I could like this film more on rewatches. I don't know. Its narrative is not amazing, but I think that there is very good, like, political stakes. I think that the fact that it actually wants to examine those better than maybe the average superhero film kind of makes me engaged with it a little bit better. I think that's something that I really like about it. I also just think it's like well written on character basis, right? The dialogue is very, very witty and funny. Like, again, I actually definitely prefer Guardians of the Galaxy when it comes to these types of superhero films. So I think there is something for James Gunn. Like, I think what he does works for me, maybe better than others. So, yeah, I really like that film. Next up, The Phoenician Scheme. I guess, like, this later era, Wes Anderson is, I'm a little mixed on it. It's still it does what it needs to do. It looks the part. You have all those wacky characters on there, but I think there's just things that still don't work for me. I think the one main thing here that I said is that I still feel a little bit more emotional distance than I would want. Which is sort of the same way I felt about Asteroid City, but I guess with Asteroid City there was just a better ensemble cast that I think I was able to dive myself into. Yeah, I don't know. It's still it still pops. Okay, it's still an interesting film regardless. It just, for what I expect from my from liking earlier Wes Anderson works. Next up, Dead Talent Society, underrated movie. Or maybe it's just not that well known, and I think I would like for people to at least check this film out. It's on Netflix. Okay, it's on Netflix. It's this weird film where this girl doesn't, like, I guess fully want to die, and if you want to be a ghost, you have to like fucking haunt people, and you get like points and shit for doing so. Really weird film. It's a Chinese film. And yeah, it's just got a lot of heart to it, okay? I do think that it's like the world it tries to build is not the most logical world, but I think I really forgive it for that, because it just is so much like fun, right? It kind of loses me a little bit in the third act, but it's still good. It's just, it loses its steam. Yeah, but this film, I guess, is a little bit satirical, and I guess that's where a little bit of my confusion comes from. But it's very well on that comedic front. I think that's what it's trying to sell on the most. Next up here, Friendship. Yeah, I like this. I wanted to like it more. I really did. But I still felt like this film could have been more immersive. You know what I mean? I think it holds on to its mumblecore aesthetic in its like sort of Tim Robinson comedy world still. And how it works fine. It works fine. It's an enjoyable film, but I still think that there was like, they could have done more. I still think they could have done more with that character for sure. And I think this was a debut film, so I don't know. I think that when they make more films, I really do want them to consider even larger scopes. Yeah. Next up, Sinners. Okay, wow. Why is Sinners at number fucking 38, eh? I know. That's quite low. People really like Sinners. I like Sinners, but I don't like it as much as everyone else. And why was that? Okay, I do agree with this. I think that the world it builds has a lot of good context. Like, that is like one of the best sort of things that it does. But I think its narrative itself, I think it's too long of a movie. Genuinely. I don't think that I think the film could have worked better if it had a shorter runtime. Yeah, this is exactly it. Because the film, it has some crazy tonal shifts. I know people really love the film, okay, but one of my main problems was the tonal shift. I actually really liked the start of it. That slow burn drama, you really felt like you were getting into something, and then it really does that switch up of being like a horror film, which it tries to go and again, the pacing of it changes too. And so, I don't know, I didn't fully land with me on that. Yeah, one of the positive points I will say too when it comes to a horror film though is I think this is really good with its cast of characters. When it comes to like survival horror, like These People Die or so forth, I think that I really enjoyed the ensemble on here, so that's like one definitely good plus. 37, The Alabama Solution. Yeah, this is Netflix. No, this was not on Netflix, was it? I think it was on Crave. Good documentary about, the problems in the Alabama prison system. Yeah, these people get treated like shit. I mean, this documentary to me is nothing new. I mean, I've been well aware of maybe not specifically this case about like in Alabama, all these prisons and all these like prisoners sort of rising above it in a way. But I've been aware of how bad some of these prisons are, right? And how the guards, take bribes, do all that shit, or people are being beaten senselessly, or they look the other way for things like. It's a corrupt system, and it's also a system that doesn't actually care about the people in it. I am not someone who thinks about, oh, this person's a bad person, they did something wrong, I want them to suffer. I want them to suffer for the rest of their life. I can understand being angry at someone in the moment, maybe, but at the end of it all, to me, prison, or like, people having to go away because they did something, has to do, I think there's a sense of rehabilitation that I think about, and I also think about the sense of someone is not in society because they're a threat to society. And I don't know. I get that I'm like, in my criminology degree brain, I think about this in a way where it's like, I understand that the world doesn't organize around these things. In reality, we're not as organized, I think, as people think we are when it comes to this type of stuff. But yeah, it's a very interesting documentary, okay? I'm not going to go rant about my politics here. Next up, To a Land Unknown. So this film is, as a Palestinian-Danish director. And this film, where's this film set? They're in Greece. Yeah, so it's these two, like Palestinian refugees, and they're trying to escape Greece, and they use this lady to get out of there, and it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. I think because you were seeing these people who are in such a terrible position that, them going and making some decisions to escape, and that not being the most moral decisions, you kind of do sit there with this sort of gray area where you're like, damn, right? Like, these people want to escape, they want to do what they have to do, but they're doing it at a moral cost, right? And I think that really works for me. Yeah. It was a wonderful flick. Next up, I know that like people may not consider these movies, but both of these are like long enough to be in movies. I don't really feel about them as like a TV show, but Black Mirror. We have Hotel Reverie. I think I only have 2 of the Black Mirror episodes that I watched on this list, but Hotel Reverie was really good. Sort of like this, you go into this movie, and you're acting in this like digital world of an old film, like they're remake. It's weird shit, but I liked sort of the philosophical elements to that, and it's a very good way of contrasting how we view gay relationships now as to then. As the actress, I believe, is gay, and then goes into this world, talks to like the NPC who ends up actually being gay as well, but you wouldn't know that based off of the repression of sexuality that would have been expected during that time, right? Which, again, there was lots of gay people back in, there always was, but what I'm trying to say is that we have kind of been made aware of people in the 30s, 40s who worked in Hollywood who were deeply closeted, right? Which, again, there was a reason for that, because they wanted to have a job, and they didn't want to have people, want to fucking kill them. I really like that one. Next up is the movie Ne Zha 2, which is like one of the biggest fucking movies ever made in China. And I decided to watch it because I'm like, all right, y'all say this movie's good. Okay. Not many people, I guess, really did go check this out. But the first one was okay. A little bit more of a cliched film, I will say. The second film, though, like really, really ups the stakes. And I think it really knows how to work with its visuals and so forth. I'd say that there's just more going on, more layers, more stuff to really chew on when it comes to the narrative. So I will give it to them there. But I would say this is one of like the best films when it comes to animation or like its action sequences. Like, it really does a goddamn fucking good job. Next film is Zootopia 2. So Zootopia 2 is beating out Ne Zha 2. Yeah, I like the Zootopia movies, man. I'm surprised Disney is really killing the game with their Zootopia IP. Um, I will say, it's not like Zootopia is like the most well written fucking films. But they do have world building that I think is relatively solid, right? Like you can actually watch the movie and you're in that environment. It doesn't come off flat or like you're at a distance watching it. And there's lots of unique sort of side characters they bring into it, and a lot more that they do on this one. I will say, like, well-made film, well-structured. This film does kind of rely on some of the same like narrative beats that the first one did. Um, that certainly upsets me, but I think comedically, this film's got a lot going on to really enjoy. Like, I could definitely rewatch Zootopia 1 and 2. So it's up there for a reason. Next up, I think this is Norwegian, right? The movie Dreams, which is sort of like a trilogy of movies, like loosely based. But this is a movie about this high school girl, like, falling in love with her teacher. And it's an odd movie because she's writing this stuff in diaries and so forth, and their parents find it and she ends up making it a book and so forth. It's weird. It's a weird film, especially too because of like how you're going to get the tone of the film, right? Like it's at the end of the day how I watched it. Like, I'm not looking at this main character being in love, or like, I do think that I think it's a little obsessive and a little intense and a little mental, and I feel bad for her, but I also see perspectives from the teacher who is also allowing boundaries to cross. It's just very strange once you get into sort of the nuance of like what are they both thinking, and you can kind of grab at that a little bit. Yeah, really good. 31, next up, F1. Bro, F1 was a fucking trip, okay? I really enjoyed F1. That's a theater movie, okay? That's a blockbuster theater movie. Yes. Is the narrative good? It's good enough. It's good enough, right? But it is the racing sequences that sell the whole thing. And I think that those racing things aren't just for the action, just for the enjoyment of us watching it, but you can feel the stakes of its narrative during that time. And it engrossed me. It engrossed me deeply with that. So, yeah, I think it's exactly what a blockbuster needs to be. Next up, Mickey 17. I think Mickey 17 may be a little bit underrated. I wonder if it's going to be on other people's list at this, but I feel like it came and went. People really were all about it when it came out, and then people just forgot about it. And I'm like, Bong Joon-ho deserves more than that shit, man. I know we all ate Parasite up. I'm not going to say Mickey 17 is as good as Parasite, but I think it deserves more love. I really do. He's got great humor. He's got some really good science fiction elements. Like, I think with the science fiction world that he wrote here is not stuff that I'm always seeing in cinema, especially with cinema that is kind of like wide reaching like this. You know what I mean? Like, this seems like more the stuff that you'd see in science fiction books or so forth, maybe. Yeah, I guess the one criticism I did have is I think its world building could have been better to build up its social political elements. I don't think it spends as much time on that as it could have. I still think that could have been better. And the narrative itself in this movie is not that original, I suppose. Like, especially like with the outcome of it all. You know what I mean? Like, company being corporate greed, blah blah blah. It's very expected, but I think it's just done the right way here. You know what I mean? I think I forgive that I'm not really shitting on the movie because of it, because I think it works out better than some of those other films that have done it beforehand. Next up, Thudarum, this Indian film here that I thought was a fucking trip. Very tense movie. Where his car gets like confiscated by these corrupt police officers, and then when he ends up getting it back, he has to go on this whole fucking journey with them where they're like kind of using him to do their bidding. And I won't like really spoil it, but it takes it to an area where you're like, holy fuck. Yeah. One thing I was saying here too, these like sort of Malayalam films, they really structure these films as like fucking movies. Like they're relatively long, and the structure of them, like you were really meant to like feel an impact. I kind of feel this way because a lot of films here, maybe in North America, not all, but sometimes they really like just come and go when you watch them, and they're a little bit more of this loose entertainment. But if you're going to see one of these films in theaters, right, you're gonna sit down in that fucking chair and you're going to have an experience. And I really respect the fuck out of that. Yeah, this is. I find this film so funny too, because and I've seen a lot of films that are like this, where, or even like Duandar is kind of like it too, where it can give you a very serious tone, like serious shit is happening, right? But then once an action element comes in, it fucking just goes balls to the wall. So it's interesting, you know, it can give you very serious conversations and sit you in that moment, but then at the same time, it's gonna flip the script and be just fucking crazy. And I also love seeing these films as just some like normal fucking white dude, because I'm usually the only white guy in the theater, and I love the audience participation in these movies. Because I remember in this movie too, like when like the kind of like third act like fight scene starts, people are fucking cheering, people are fucking loving that. I've only seen that one time here in Canada, and that was with the first Avengers when I was a kid. But for that, I love it. You know what I mean? I love that energy. I guess people did that with the Minecraft movie, but I made sure to stay away from seeing that in theaters. And no, that movie is not going to be on this list. Next up, The Perfect Neighbor. It's not the most like you don't really get a lot from maybe the social like messaging in this one. Like I don't think the whole experience of the film is supposed to lead you there, but I think the idea of it being this body cam footage is what you're getting throughout the whole thing. I think really sells for me, right? That I'm getting this sort of POV perspective. And I don't really know a lot about stand your ground laws in Florida, but now I do. And getting to see sort of an element on, you know, why that might not be the best decision to have, because it can be you know, used in a very improper way. Yeah, man. But this does give me an interesting perspective too on being a police officer, in the sense where, although it's weird, right? Because sometimes, you know, cops seem to fucking deal with mental health issues in the most extreme of ways, and then in this case they don't deal with it. They deal with it in the least extreme way. So there's a perspective there too, where that is certainly frustrating about that. But it's a very interesting documentary, I think. But it's not easy to watch. You know, something does happen in the later half of the film that like really fucking emotionally destroyed me, and is rather unfortunate, right? Like the after effects for some of these people's lives is just fucking right. That's a lot of trauma that this woman caused. Anyways, next up, Sorry Baby, which was, I believe, a directorial debut by Eva Victor, and she also acts in this, and I mean, I think she has one of the greatest performances of the year, I will say, and she even got nominated for a Golden Globe, so fuck yeah, right? Yeah, really takes me back to the days when you'd get those sort of short, punchy indie films. Although I do think this film, compared to those types of indie films, is like very well written when it comes to like a psychological perspective, like how we get our character Agnes's sort of point of view in a way on what's happened in her life and where she is now. It is like very dark, but I think it really helps for an audience to emotionally connect with its main character, right? Yeah, not an easy film to watch. Like maybe not one that I really always want to rewatch, but for when you're in it, when you're in that moment of watching it, it's filled with a lot to really take from it, I'd say. Next up, Killer of Killers, the anthology series by Predator. Yeah, okay, I'm surprised that this works so well. People are just letting their creativity fly with these 3 films. I will say though, I think it like slowly gets better throughout the thing, and then finding out sort of the anthology is meant to take you somewhere narratively was fucking sick. Like that final scene, oh my god, hardcore. Yeah, I don't really think I have much to say about it. But yeah, it really worked for me. Next up here, we got Louis Theroux, The Settlers. Louis Theroux, journalist, did a documentary about sort of these like really hardcore nationalist type people who like live in the West Bank. And yeah, it kind of works more like a TV movie type deal, which I guess it kind of is. But it is like pretty intense to see, right? Like getting to see the perspectives of some of these people. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's just really surreal to me, right? To see something like a genocide happening and people using that as an opportunity to like be like, all right guys, like this is how we're going to occupy this space, like having these whole movements with lots of people. It's like this shit's not even like finished yet and people are already working on making these people's lives worse. It kind of, I can't wrap it around my brain why the fuck this shit happens. I can't. Next up, too, after this, I have another thing kind of related to Palestine, which is from Ground Zero, which is all these sort of Palestinian creators during this time making these short films. And a lot of these short films are like really good and are really unique. Yeah. I guess it's, again, another anthology film, but I think one of the things that really works about it is just the wide variety of sort of voices that I'm getting. And I think being able to sit there and go, you know, art is a universal thing, right? And I think this film is very essential to show how important art is to people who, you know, aren't even sure if they're really going to eat the next day. You know what I mean? Like that power of art being seen right there is really, really, really profound. So I do think it's definitely worth checking out that. And I will say, I'd say the one film that I know is probably really big that's not going to be on this list, The Voice of Hind Rajab. Because shit ain't out anywhere. It might come out later in January, so that's potentially when I'll be able to go see it. Next up, the other Black Mirror one that I was a fan of was Eulogy with fucking Paul Giamatti. GOAT. I love Paul Giamatti. Yeah, I think the pacing of this one, you know, you're not sure where it's going to take you. But it's just a very depressing sort of thing, I think. It's sort of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind type vibes, right? Which is an amazing movie. That movie really definitely deeply connects with me. And I think that's why I like this one as well. But I don't know if Eulogy would have been as good if Paul Giamatti wasn't in it. I think that man is just a fucking goated actor. He really is. So give him his flowers. Another sort of, just like with Eva Victor, the writer, director, actor sort of stuff, with Twinless, with we have James Sweeney here. This is a fucking just weird movie, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think something, I guess one of the main things I'm saying here too is he creates something very human here. But at the same time, it's so tonally fucked up. Like, where this film takes you is just so fucked up. But it's able to have empathy for its characters. And I am certainly, because that's a very hard line to kind of work with, right? But I think he works with it here. Yeah, I think the film is really, it's kind of like those Joker, fucking Taxi Driver type movies. In a way, it kind of gives me that vibe, right? With maybe the emotional or mental state that we're getting with our character, and sort of their ability to rationalize, and I don't know, like getting to see like that this all kind of stems from mental illness. But also, Dylan O'Brien really needs to be kind of. I actually honestly think that he would deserve a Oscar nom for that role. Yeah. Next up here, Lost in Starlight. This is a Korean film that was on Netflix, and this is sort of like a soft sci-fi, like sort of romance film. And I really like what it's trying to do here, especially too, right? The science fiction world, you have this girl who's like a fucking becoming an astronaut, and then you have her falling in love with this like indie musician, like just these two different worlds that you don't really think about when it comes to being in a futuristic space, like both of them together, right? And I kind of like that it's able to, I don't know, build that world for me to be in. Yeah, and this film isn't trying to world build in a certain way. I think it's really, really working hard on its romance narrative, which I think works really well once you get to the end. I think the end is really emotional gut punch with that. And again, too, I'm always gonna love when you have sort of left field animated films. You know what I mean? I think animation, again, I understand animation's hard to do and so forth, but I always love it when I get to watch animated films that aren't like in that cliched sort of understanding of animated films. Next, Frankenstein. Oh yeah, Frankenstein. I think Guillermo del Toro did a great job with this film. I will say I do think it's a little long, but I think he nails on all those important things. The actors are great, the costume design, the set design. I also do think I was kind of a fan of the way he did the structure with the one half of the story and the other half of the story, so forth. Yeah, I think I could return to this film too. It's something I'd really return with, I think. Next up here, we got David Attenborough, who I think he's in his 90s, and this one he's still churning out fucking documentaries. And we got a few documentaries in a row. 5 documentaries. Oh my gosh. Kitty, stop. Yeah, we're talking about the oceans, bro. We're talking about all those problems with the oceans, because that is what our boy David Attenborough wants to talk about. And I guess one of the main things he's really talking about in this one is he's really he's talking about unethical fishing habits, I guess, is like one of the main things. Yeah, I think when it comes to its political messaging, it's pretty much straight to the point. Like, it's not really trying to do it in some fancy way. Although, of course, just with the visual front of the way these nature documentaries work, I think it's able to put you in a very weird headspace, like a very calming headspace, while it speaks about these things. So I think that is a way that it becomes more effective than it could be. So good job on you, David. This guy's gonna be doing this until the day he croaks. I would be surprised if he doesn't die while filming one of these things. Next up, we got Lilith Fair, Building a Mystery, documentary about Lilith Fair, which was a music festival that ran for a few years, I suppose, late 90s, made by Sarah McLachlan. It was meant to be, something with women artists getting to have their own festival, which this film really does discuss how it's paired alongside something that would have been very male-dominated, like Woodstock, right? And watching this, it's beautiful. Right? It's beautiful that they were able to create something like this amidst being told that it's not a good idea, right? You have people in business who I'm assuming were mostly men saying, nah, like this isn't going to make money, blah, 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 blah. And it did quite well for them. And I guess culturally this was a good shift. At this time in 2025, 2026, there's still work to be done for sure. But I think getting to sort of look at this time capsule of when there was this shift was very beautiful. It was very beautiful to see. Next up here we have Come See Me in the Great Light, which documentary about someone that I wasn't really aware of, Andrea Gibson. I guess she died recently, maybe 6-7 months ago, and I didn't know that until after I finished the movie. Watching her go through cancer and seeing, she's with her partner and her whole support system, and watching this documentary. And again, when you're watching shit like this, like, fuck, it's real. Do Do you know what I mean? I think that's why there's so many documentaries up here too, because you can really sink more into a person's emotions when you know it's real, right? And that this is a story that can be unique and or can be universal, something that as a human being I can understand. If I was to go through it, I'd feel this way, and so forth, right? And yeah, this is sad. It's sad. It's very, very sad. Not an easy watch, but I think seeing her perspective on life and how she tackles this is what really makes this for a good watch. You know what I mean? In the sense where, and again, some people are like this and it's not a big deal, right? People may not be in a good mood, or it's a little too much when they're dealing with this stuff. And I don't blame those people. I'm just saying that watching that could really flip what you'd think watching this. I think the way she acts in this has makes you more hopeful, makes you maybe more accepting of death, which I think is something that you'd really want to do with something like this, because at the end of the day, we're all going to die, and we can't all die the way that we want to either, right? And trying to look for the beautiful things in life, I think, is going to be what's more important. And yeah, I think this documentary really does that. So yes, beautiful. Next up, the encampments. This was about specifically the big one, Columbia University protesting against the Gaza genocide, and this was around the time, I guess, that they were just finishing that school year. Yeah, I really thought this was awesome. Okay. Yeah, I think that this film kind of is able to examine what happened in Colombia, put on more layers about what was going on in Gaza, and I also think it added more than what I was paying attention to when this was happening, like from watching the news and so forth. I wasn't aware of how fucked up Columbia University or the other universities were in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of playing politics. There is a lot of not actually giving a fuck about human lives happening with these higher institutions, which is interesting, right? Especially when you have to consider, and I'm not really talking about professors, because I know that there's professors that would have been going to these encampment things. It's one of those things, right? Higher education, as I recall going to it, oh yeah, it's a very progressive space. But the institution itself that runs that, it's a business. And as a business, they are invested sometimes in a lot of unethical places. And yeah, sometimes too, that has a lot to do with the people who are giving money towards the weapons that are killing innocent people in Gaza. And that most certainly was happening in Columbia University. And I will say, when it comes to this stuff, it's very interesting to want to, like, when it comes to boycott, divestment, sanctions, whatever, if you really were able to spend the time that you wanted to search up and look and go, okay, how do I live a life that is ethical with the products I buy? Good luck. Oh my God. Not even just with Palestine, right? I think there's other things that we consider going on in this world that has corporations involved with it. And if we knew the whole truth, I think we'd feel quite disgusted with ourselves. But what are you going to do, guys? As we always say, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. Anyways, yeah, wonderful. Definitely check out the encampments. Next up here, It's Never Over. Jeff Buckley. I'm a very big Jeff Buckley fan, so I think that there is a lot of biases as to why this is up here. It's a concise documentary. It really lands on the emotions, I will say, on this. And I think it really does do a beautiful sort of send-off on the sort of the emotional elements of the end of this. It's a documentary that I guess it's hard to really grasp at what everything was, because Jeff Buckley, he did, I guess, die at such a young age in his career. I do think that there could have been other elements maybe that it could have added in, but I don't know what would have been possible, what was personal, what was private, so forth. But I think what I did end up getting by the end of this was just something that I think I was just deeply engaged with. Again, with being such a fan of his music. Next up, Sentimental Value. What an interesting film. It's so fucking well made, okay? It's such a well made movie. It's got a great cast of characters. It's a well structured film. Um, it's extremely layered, as these types of films often are. Films that are about a director's life or so forth. There's a lot of like meta context that sort of goes into it. One thing I will say, even though it is at 14, I do think that the film's I think the film could have been cut down a little bit. I think that they tried too hard, too much. It could have still been a tighter film, to be brutally honest. But it's at number 14, so it's good enough, eh? Next up here, Weapons. This is that whitest kids, Zach Kreger. Yeah, what a banger of a movie. I really liked Barbarian, but Weapons just really sold it for me. This was one of the funnest experiences I think I've had in the theaters all year. Okay. I haven't rewatched it. I know some people say that on a rewatch it doesn't really work as effectively, the way that it kind of splits up its stories with other perspectives. But that first go around, I will say, I think it really uses that in a. I understand that it's not the craziest reveal when things get revealed like that, but it's fun, and I think the fun is really a part of what makes it as good as it is. So. Okay, Weapons. Hell yeah. Next up, Secret Mall Apartment. This documentary was so fucking cool. Okay? Yes, I was interested in watching this because of the element of some dude's living in a mall for however many years. That's crazy. I want to know more about it. But watching it, you get this perspective on, it really becomes this artistic statement. He does say it's like an art installation, which I think is half true, half not true. But getting a perspective from him about all the sort of other artistic endeavors that he's a part of, helping with these kids, organize, and then doing this stuff for in support of, I should say in support of the people who helped save people during 9/11. Things like that. I mean, he just got a very good character piece of who this person was. And also, too, just doing something like that, it really sparks something in a childlike mind, okay? My imagination was really it did a lot for me. Next up here, Begonia at 11. Yorgos Lanthimos, man, he's got it still. That motherfucker has got it. Visually, the film is still very jarring, like his films often are. And we're getting some amazing performances. Definitely Jesse Plemons, I would put up as an Oscar nom. I was initially thinking maybe he'd be my favorite of the year, but that had been overtaken now. Yeah, I think this film has a lot to say about sort of the idea of the conspiracy nut job, which seems, I mean, it's always been around, but I think it's something that is very relevant to pinpoint, as I feel in the media nowadays, especially with the right. Conspiracy theories are given so much more power, which is rather unfortunate because it does have the ability to harm people's lives. But it's for political gain. These conspiracies are being used for political gain, and I think this film, even though the ending of this film, I think it really tries to, it's a fuck you ending, right? And I'm still not sure how much, I think the ending is cool. Probably not the ending I would have preferred, but I think it did that intentionally to go I know that you don't want this ending, what are you going to do now? And yeah, I think I mean, it's such a well written film too. Like who Jesse Plemons' character is, and all this sort of crazy fucking knowledge and things he adds onto things. It just seems like it was pretty well researched, or at least really well thought out. And you know, especially all that stuff with the bees and so forth. But yeah, it's such a weird, wild experience. And I do like how it tries to make me reflect on the confusing, unknowing state of modern society. Yeah, next up, top 10 here. It was just an accident. Um, yeah, wow, this movie was fucking amazing. I had a really great time seeing this in theaters. Um, it is a film that I feel kind of works more like a stage play, or it kind of feels like a stage play. Narratively, like I think it would sell there, but regardless of that fact, the initial narrative of this film, I think I wrote this in my review too. The initial premise, you kind of feel like it's going to take you somewhere. Um, it could go somewhere generic, or it could go somewhere really action packed or exciting, but it doesn't do that. It cares way more about the characters that it brings in. I will also say too, the way it does it almost makes you feel like it's a film from like the 40s, 50s. I don't know, just the way it kind of works narratively. And yeah, you really brought into the perspective of these people, and they're brought to choose like morally what they will do. Um, yeah, I don't know if I want to say too much else, because I do want people to at least check out these films. But I will say too, I don't know if this film would be at number 10 if it wasn't for the ending of this movie. The ending is one of the best fucking pieces of cinema I've seen this year by far, and it really ups the ranking. Number 9 here. This one I think I need to rewatch, because I loved it a lot more on the first time I watched it, but the more I thought about it, it kind of went down for me. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. This sort of, I don't know, it's kind of like uncut gems for mothers going through a tough time. Because you have this mom who's just fucking losing her shit, her husband's away doing things, and you get to go see a perspective of her life when, you know, when she's just up to her neck with problems. And it's a very fucking, like, anxiety-filled experience. One that I think more people should watch, because I guess it's not overly too big of a film, but yeah. And Rose Byrne, I think should take the Oscar. I think I think she was the best actress this year, easily. Yeah, killer movie. Next up, Wake Up Dead Man, third Knives Out. Yeah, dude, this movie's so fucking good. Again, I think it's another. This is a movie where it's up here this high because of how much fun I had, how rewatchable I think it is, how great I think the cast of characters are. I do think that the sort of narrative outcome of it by the end is, it's nothing too crazy, but the leading there to get to there is like one of the best things about it, right? Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you know, it has a lot of social satire, as just like I guess all of them have had, but although Glass Onion I guess wasn't as strong. But yeah, I lot of fun. Next up here we have No Other Choice, which yeah, Park Chan-wook is a fucking really cool director. Okay, I think he is really strong when it comes to his sort of pen, like his style just is very very present in his films. And I don't know if I've seen one like, which ones have I watched, right? Like, I've seen Old Boy a long time ago, so I can't really speak about it, but Decision to Leave and The Handmaiden, I think those films are a little bit more tonally dramas than this one. This certainly has its drama elements, but it is like a fucking comedy too. It's just so absurd, right? You have this guy who loses his job, and oh, how is he going to get another job? He's going to kill the competition. And him going through all that, and again, the satirical elements of this, where you're considering like, this is the system that the capitalist system that we've built up, where to survive, it's satire, this isn't real life, but it's just really trying to show you that, like, what our lives are like to this sort of to these companies or businesses, right? Like, you feel your humanity stripped away when it comes to who you are for these people. So yeah, really good. Next up, 2,000 Meters to Andriivka. This is a documentary about the war in Ukraine and them having to go through this small little space to sort of reclaim back this territory. And it is a lot. It's a lot. The stuff, the war happening right now, I mean, I don't know. It's not looking amazing. I don't really know what to think, but, something has to give, right? But I'm not always the most hopeful person, right? And this film is just, again, getting to see a war documentary of the like, where it's like there is a specific goal in mind that you were seeing, and you're getting to see the different cast of characters go through it, and lots of these people die. Like, this film itself, and the way it kind of shines a light on the different people it shows you, does not kind of give a happy ending in a way. Like, it doesn't really, you don't finish watching this and go like, wow, man, like, I have hope in these people, like, they're doing a good job. It makes me feel like, fuck, man, these are these human beings who don't get to see their family again and so forth. They're living in this shit. Like fuck Putin, man. Like, fuck this motherfucker. Yeah, it's very, very intense, and to me, I really enjoyed it, found it engaging. Next up, Apocalypse in the Tropics. This was a film about that guy in Brazil. What's that guy's name? Bolsonaro, right? And sort of with his, his running for president, and how much Christian evangelism was sort of used to, kind of bring like a cult of personality to the whole thing. And in a way, we get to sort of compare that to the United States, which is something that there's a lot of like a Christian nationalist sort of messaging from certain groups here, right? Or Donald Trump is someone who kind of latches on to that sort of religious sect. Yeah, and then we get to see sort of what the outcome has been for Bolsonaro, which I don't know, it's just like such a tight fucking documentary. Because sometimes with these political documentaries too, 2 hours, okay, I'm being given a lot of information that's like not as necessary. It just seems like if you were to go to a class and you had a 2-hour lecture on what happened, they just fucking hit the right points, dropped the mic, and left, right? Like, that is a fucking way to make a documentary. Documentaries, to me, I often think are really hard to do. They're really hard to get right. You know what I mean? But I also think when people watch documentaries, they're not really rating them as much as maybe I am. People, I think, can find it hard to review documentaries. But I feel like at this point now I can kind of get a vibe for when I feel like a documentary is working for me. Yeah, Apocalypse in the Tropics. That's the best documentary this year. Okay, and it's on Netflix, so you can check it out. Next up, Suleiman's Story. French movie here that really impressed me, really had an impact on me. You have this guy, I think he was an illegal immigrant too, like, or a refugee, or he gets into the country on those boats and then applies for refugee status, and he has to go and do an interview to stuff to get all that working, and you kind of put in his perspective for a few days, and he's doing Uber on a bike, which he's also doing illegally, because when he's on refugee status he can't be working, right? So he's kind of like doing some shit to survive, right? It's sort of in that same situation with like To a Land Unknown that I was talking earlier, where being put in a certain situation, right, like you have to do what you have to do, right, like to fucking live. Although with Suleiman's Story it's not as fucked up, right? And it's you're really, it's kind of like real time, or it feels like real time, like the way that the film's paced. It's only like a few days or something like that. And getting to see his life, I mean, oh my god, you have a lot of empathy for this character, and I think I really got sucked into the emotional elements of this film. And this is another film, sort of like it was just an accident, just in the way where this sort of final moment that they go for in the third act, like, really just hits the nail on its head. So yeah, next up, Train Dreams. What a bias I have for this type of film, because its cinematography is very much so like Terrence Malick, and for some reason Terrence Malick just sits so strongly in my mind. This is a fucking hell of a depressing movie. Okay, I guess I can't really go into it too much, but it's a very quiet, very meditative film that I think is probably the most emotional film I've seen this year, right? Like, it's manipulative. It's how it gets the emotion out of you is manipulative, but films are manipulating emotions. That's what the whole fucking name of the game is, right? And I think I really like the sort of way it puts me in the main character's shoes. You know what I mean? I think the way everything works out really lets me sit there as if I'm this guy. You know what I mean? So I think they get the emotional distance very correct here. Yeah, it's a relatively short film. I think is very well paced. I do see that some people have problems with the voiceover. I don't think that the voiceover is like as needed as it is in here, but it does not take away from what the emotional impact was that this film had for me. So, there you go. Number 3, Train Dreams. Next up here, these two films are going to be pretty obvious. I actually had to boost up One Battle After Another to number 2 here, because it would have been lower. But yeah, it's sat on my mind a lot. I still think that I don't like it as much as other Paul Thomas Andersons. I don't think it hits the same emotional weight. But for an experience of a film, what it does for nearly 3 hours it's fucking intense, okay? And how it wants to speak about the political times of now is also deeply nuanced. And I really like that this film is able to, again, I think it's kind of funny how well, like, in the right-wing sphere, I guess, people are quite critical of this film, and, you know, this film coming out just, like, a little while after Charlie Kirk's death, and you have this group of revolutionaries who, yeah, they're violent, right? Not violent to that certain same degree, but I think it does beg the question that they would be capable of wanting to do something like that, right? They have the threat of violence, at least. But anyways, the film is still very critical of the left, okay? Like, when people, I feel like people sometimes aren't always clicking in with that, right? Like, but, and especially how that kind of parallels with the Sensei's character, right? Like, on the idea of, like, what even is the best way to achieve this sort of success in our world? How do we make it a better place? And I think that's why the film is called One Battle After Another, right? Because it just is not ending. What are we going to do to better this place? It's not going to end. It's one battle after another. Yeah, Leo is really great in this. But Sean Penn obviously steals the game. Yeah, I also think that this is one I'm going to rewatch enough times in my life. I'm definitely going to come back to it. Yeah, but the first movie, it has to be Marty Supreme. I'm kind of annoyed with Marty Supreme in the way that, okay, maybe One Battle After Another, I think, may stand out on originality, because Marty Supreme does rely so deeply on sort of that sort of emotional beats that we're working with Uncut Gems and are working with Good Times. The Safdie brothers are using their auteurism, though, for good, because it works, okay? They know it works, so they're not going to stop using it. And this film, to me, like, compared to Uncut Gems and Good Time, ups the ante. I still think they wrote a different type of character. You know what I mean? Who we view Marty as is a little different, right? Like who we get in Good Time is like a real big sociopath, fucking asshole vibe. Uncut Gems, he is, you know, washed up, like 40-year-old. You know what I mean? Who, or he's also deeply narcissistic. He could have a good life, but he chooses, you know, his addictions take him elsewhere. With Marty Supreme, you have someone who is an extremely talented person, not gifted the best footing in life, and due to that, they will stop at nothing to be successful. As people say, like, what will you do to make your dreams come true? But where that takes us, who Marty Supreme is in that journey is, you know what I mean? Like, I like that it wants to test the limits of that, right? Like, because I don't think most people would do the things that Marty Supreme did, even if they knew they were as talented as they are, right? Like, holy fuck, man. It's a very nerve-wracking, very tense film. Timothée Chalamet brings the best performance of the year, by far. I will definitely be rewatching this film a lot. I like the energy it provides me with. This, Uncut Gems, Good Time, all those films. It just fucking hops me up. Like, after watching all three of those movies, I feel like I need to go to, like, the fucking gym, bro. Like, I need to, like, do, like, kickboxing. Like, I love that the film elicits a response from me like that. But anyways, I realized that I have been yapping now for an hour and 7 minutes. I didn't think I was going to yap for that long. So I'm going to stop now. Those are my top 50 movies. Now I have to do my list of top 50 albums and songs, which I am not done yet. It's January 2nd. I'm not done yet. I have to re-listen to things. I have to sort of... Because, you know what? My re-listening has changed my rankings a little bit here and there. So... the hard part is over. My favorites are already, like, kind of dealt with, but there's still some loose ends. So, but anyways, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being here. 2025 has been a crazy year, and we're going to move forward in life, see where 2026 takes us. Peace.